Facebook buys Gowalla. Turntable works with Twitter. YouTube gets a makeover. And Google Voice pretty much saves the day. All that and social gaming from public urinals. Yes, I said public urinals on the Social Hour.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur, episode 37, recorded Friday, December 2nd, 2011. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour. And by Ford, featuring available voice-activated Sync. Sync gives you versatile access to music, podcasts, and more from just about any device. Check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Social Hour. This is episode 37, and from TWiT World Headquarters in Petaluma, California at the TWiT Brick House, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber MacArthur from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in my basement.
Yeah, that
doesn't sound quite as good, does it?
It's like MacArthur World Headquarters.
Yeah, MacArthur World Headquarters. I like that, Sarah.
Good.
Yes, I am back home and still in Toronto. I've been here for a few weeks, and it's finally feeling holiday-ish outside, so that's exciting.
You know, Matthew Ingram, who lives on some lake, I've never quite figured out exactly where, but somewhere very pretty, because he takes a lot of Instagram photos, posted a photo of snow on the rooftops around him, so I thought, well, if Amber isn't already snowed in, it can't be long before you guys get your first flurry, which would be the first, wouldn't it?
It would, but I think he works a lot from his cottage, which is 3 or 4 hours north of Toronto. So they would get snow much before us. Not that much, but you know, if they get snow up there, it doesn't mean that we necessarily will. So he works a lot from up there, and it's so. I have never been there, but I've seen all those photos.
It's beautiful.
So beautiful.
So,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, 3 to 4 hours would be like Tahoe from San Francisco.
Pretty significant,
it's pretty
right?
different. Yeah, I mean, it snows all the time in Tahoe, and we never get snow. So
I say, bring on the snow, though, Sarah, just to
Do
feel.
you?
Yeah, well, I'll say that until the end of Christmas, and then I might not want it anymore. But it's nice, you know, this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's fun for me to go to the snow. I'm still a little afraid of living in the snow. I've never done it. Well, not since I was a really little kid, and somebody else was taking care of all that stuff. But it sure is pretty.
It's very pretty. Very, very pretty. All right, we have a big show today, Sarah. Lots of links to talk about.
We do.
A ton, actually.
we have so much to talk about on the show, so we'll get through as much as we can in an hour. You guys know how that goes. Let's start off with YouTube's new look. You may not have noticed that YouTube looks a little different than it did yesterday. Looks like we are really zoomed into that view. When we're looking at YouTube right now, but if you can, Colin, you could take my screen actually. This is what YouTube looks like in my new home. So if I go ahead and say try it now, because I'm logged in just as myself, I'm kind of visiting for the first time. What you'll notice right away, if I can get YouTube to load here, our TWiT network is being a little bit slow, is that subscriptions are really front and center. And not only do channels that I've subscribed to show up nicely in my little subscriptions area, but people that I am subscribed to on Google Plus, of course, another Google property that Google would love to integrate as much as possible with YouTube, is now in my stream. So Scott Beal of Laughing Squid, who is my friend on Google Plus, shared this video, and now it shows up in my YouTube subscriptions list, which I know Tom and I were looking at this earlier, and Tom said, oh, this is confusing me. I didn't subscribe to this person. I don't understand what's going on. And then we decided, Google Plus. Well, that makes sense, because ideally you'd be interested in the kind of videos that people you've added to a circle of some kind would be sharing on Google Plus. So I like it. I don't think it's a radical change, but I do think the user interface makes more sense, and certainly bringing Google Plus into the YouTube experience as much as possible can only help Google. Amber, what do you think?
Yeah, I also just enabled it. And I will say one thing. I really do like the way when you go and actually change your view. I love the way that they've done it, where it's really simple once you try it and they point to the couple of areas where there have been changes. They do a really good job of that. So I encourage people to go give it a whirl. I think you're exactly right. I mean, I think some of the changes are really just kind of tweaks, but I love the integration with Google+. I think it's more streamlined, and I would give it a +1, Sarah.
I would too. It's weird. I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out what does YouTube remind me of all of a sudden, and it almost reminds me of a nicely designed music social network. I guess I've been looking at Spotify a lot lately, but it finally seems more polished than YouTube has ever felt to me. I mean, YouTube is a go-to for so many things, but design would have been one of the things that I would have said YouTube was the best at. It was other networks.
Just go read some comments and you'll get rid of that polished look.
It's so true. Well, there's that whole legacy comment thing, right? YouTube will always have the comment trolls, so you don't have to worry about it changing too much. This is all design-based.
It sure is, but it looks good, and some definitely an improvement.
Absolutely. And I don't actually subscribe to that many different channels on YouTube because I don't know. I just don't. But I can see if you were a heavy subscriber and you were using YouTube as one of your main sources of content, the way that they have handled subscriptions and the navigation on the right, on the left-hand side, and then recommended videos on the right-hand side makes a lot more sense. It's better for, I guess, YouTube power users, really. And as far as general discovery, better design is always a good thing. So that's what's going on in YouTube land. Something else that's going on over in Facebook land is something that's got me scratching my head, literally, quite literally, a little
Sarah
bit.
Sarah, for our audio listeners, Sarah really is actually
scratching my head because it itches, but it's also because I'm confused that Facebook has now decided to expand post character counts. That means, every keystroke is counted as a character, up to 60,000 characters. Now you think, 60,000, okay, well, that's obviously a lot more than Twitter, which is 140 characters in an update. But it is a huge jump for Facebook, who went up, okay, well, let's start. Originally, Facebook updates were 160 characters, so barely more than Facebook. That was way back in the day. You might not even remember
more than Twitter.
That. Yeah, more than Twitter. And then they went up, they doubled that or something. It was probably something like, well, we need to differentiate ourselves from Twitter a little bit more. Then in September of this year, they went up to 5,000, which was a huge jump. They weren't even at 1,000 previously. Okay, 5,000, that's quite a significant update. But from 5,000 to 60,000? What? Do they want people to write books on Facebook? Why would they allow you to have that much room? Who needs that?
The weirdest thing is when they're explaining it on the page, and the link I went to says that you can now write posts with more than 60,000 characters, and then it says, for reference, a novel has roughly 500,000 characters. This could be shared in 9 posts. Why would you ever want to do that? I have no idea. This is a really strange move, and I totally don't understand it. I think it's only a matter of time before people start writing these really long posts to try to get to that 60,000 character limit and annoy other people because their streams are just filled with too much content in one post. So I don't know. I don't know what their incentive is, Sarah. It makes no sense to me. I think it's a giant thumbs down, personally.
Unless so you know how Amazon has started signing some exclusive book deals with a select few authors. Tim Ferriss is one of them, I know.
Yeah.
So if Facebook was thinking, they went out of their way to say, for reference, 60,000 characters we're offering in one post. Most novels are, around 500,000. So think, if you do this 9 times, you got a novel right there. For them to even point that out, because I would never even thought of that, I wonder if they're starting to think about that kind of relationship where maybe somebody could offer their first ebook of sorts within the Facebook experience, or choose your own adventure kind of a thing where people could comment and share within Facebook's network. this is obviously not something that they rolled out with no rhyme or reason. We just
I know there must be a reason for it. I mean, the only thing is, I thought that too. What if people wanted to write more or blog more? It seems like it would give people an opportunity to kind of have a blog on Facebook that with such a high limit as far as characters. But would you really want to do that in the sense that I think of, like, if you're writing a book, for example, wouldn't that mean that Facebook owned that information? I mean, I got to think about how the privacy settings work for specific posts like that. But I don't know. It seems a little strange. I wish we need someone from Facebook to shed some light on this because they must have a reason. I mean, they usually don't do things for absolutely no reason. But this one is just, it's out of left field.
It is. Get it. It's very out of left field. But I look forward to the first person who takes advantage of the 60,000 character limit, writes a novel. Maybe it'll be good, and we'd love to talk about it here on the Social Hour. So if you're doing that or you know somebody who is, let us know. The Social Hour at TWiT.tv.
Yes, let us know.
A really quick mention, Turntable FM, which is a social network that I think we have covered on the Social Hour in the past. We certainly covered it on TWiT, which was really hot about 4 months ago, and I haven't heard much about it lately. And if you're not familiar with the service, it was a way for a bunch of people to jump into a virtual DJ room, take turns playing songs, and people could come into the room and thumbs up and thumbs down, and it's a very social, fun experience. You could spin 80s tunes for an hour with your coworkers or that sort of thing, but you don't all have to be in one place because you just connect to Turntable FM together. But one thing that kind of bugged people, and I know that a lot of viewers of the Social Hour or audio listeners as well, don't like it when a service will only hook up to Facebook. You've all been very vocal about that. So Turntable actually has opened it up a little bit further. One of the issues with Turntable in the past was if you tried to join a room and you weren't invited by a person you were friends with on Facebook, there was really no way to get in. And that's not a problem for most people. It's like somebody knows somebody who's already in the service that's using Facebook, but it did go through Facebook Connect. That bothered people. Now they have basically the same service for any of your friends on Twitter. So if for whatever reason you were not using Turntable, you now have a Connect with Twitter option as well as that Facebook option as well. So I just thought if for whatever reason you had kind of forgotten about Turntable, which I kind of have, not that it's not fun, but it sort of ran its course. They're getting sort of their next wave, and hopefully more awesome DJs as well.
All right. Well, Sarah, this next story I just sort of added to the list at the last minute. I discovered it on Mashable. The British intelligence agency is recruiting people via Twitter and Facebook. And one reason this kind of caught my eye is that I just finished watching the third season, I think, of 24. And I know I'm a little bit late to that game. Nonetheless, I thought this was kind of interesting. What they're doing is they're using an online game to try to encourage people to apply to be part of the BIA, and it looks as though they're looking for people who have computer skills. I'm thinking computer programmers, maybe even hackers. They talk about how the British government is eager to recruit help for fighting cyber threats from terrorists, criminals, and others. So there's this little code you have to crack, and then there's a screen that is brought up where you can apply for the position. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I've talked to people a lot about using social media for recruiting, and this is a particularly innovative, I think, experiment.
Amber, have you noticed there being a lot of conversation? I feel like maybe it's just the people that I follow because I have some friends who are in the recruiting business, but there seems to be a lot of talk lately about recruiters expanding their options. It's not pulling in talent the same old ways. It's really it's just a great market for people to use social media as long as they're being smart about it in order to get the best talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what so many people are trying to do is so many recruiters are trying to just branch out and just find the perfect people, right? And they think social media can help them kind of hone in on those particular individuals. So I think we'll see more things like this, Sarah, as far as recruitment from big organizations. Maybe not so much gaming, but I think we'll see, things that are more interactive and encouraging people to try to apply for positions. So it's an interesting flip in things. We always talk about using social media for us to go out and get a job, and to see things go the other way around, I think maybe it's encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've never actually been well, I guess I have. Not technically by a recruiter, though. Times are changing, obviously. We have more news to get to. But before we do that, quick reminder, we record the Social Hour, usually live on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, U.S. times. Although, for anybody who's watching the live show now, you know that we are pre-recording the Friday before the Monday that we usually record, because I'm going to be out of town on Monday, so this is a better time for Amber and I. If you're not watching us live, you're probably watching the episode as usual, and you won't even know the difference. But if you don't watch us live, you can always catch all of our shows on demand anytime you want. You can subscribe to the shows, so you don't even have to worry about it. They just get delivered on time at twit.tv/TSH. Yeah, RSS is very magic-y, isn't it?
It sure is.
And it's not dead. You can email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. That's where we get a majority of your correspondence, and we appreciate all of that. Although you can also call us, 262-6-SOCIAL as well, or you could send us a video. You've got a lot of options. All right, before we get to some news, let's thank Audible. They are our first sponsor of this episode of The Social Hour. And if you're not familiar with Audible.com, well, you are missing out. And you probably don't listen to audiobooks because Audible.com is the place to go because they have over 100,000 titles, all downloadable, all types of literature, fiction, nonfiction, even some periodicals. And for listeners of the Social Hour, Audible is offering a free audiobook so you can try out the service. I know a lot of you, because I was exactly like this in the past, was like, you know, audiobooks, I don't hate the idea, but it's just not for me. I want to read. You know, I want to turn the pages or flip my Kindle or whatever. I don't want someone else's voice to be mucking up my imagination. But, there's a whole kind of different imagination that it unlocks. Amber and I were talking before the show about a book that we would like to read, and Amber suggested something called Born to Run, A Hidden Tribe, Super Athletes, and the Greatest Race the World Has Ever Seen, also on Audible. It was a quick search on my end, written by Christopher McDougall, narrated by Fred Sanders. The length is 11 hours and 9 minutes, so, I mean, that's a nice, healthy commitment.
That's a good length.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's supposed to be very inspiring, too. I've heard a couple people in the past few weeks have recommended it to me. And, it's not just for runners, but people who, maybe need that extra boost to get back into shape and want to hear a great story, especially as the holidays are coming around. And, January is coming. You're going to have to get on that treadmill.
That's right. It's true. And the treadmill is a great place to listen to audiobooks because you're there. You want to escape somehow, and it's really nice to be able to sort of be in a different zone, listening to somebody else's story. It kind of makes you forget where you are. I'm about to take about an 11-hour flight tomorrow. I could get through this book pretty much from start to finish. It would keep me occupied for the whole trip, and it'd be kind of fun, because I'd want to get through the book and say, wow, I listened to a whole book on this flight, where maybe I wouldn't have been able to read it. Anyway, audiblepodcast.com/social hour is the URL you use to get that free audiobook of your choice. That is audiblepodcast.com/social hour. And thanks to Audible for sponsoring this episode of our little show. Amber, we have talked ad nauseum about Path 2.0, the iOS and Android app that has hit the app stores and really made a really nice impression on a lot of us. But we haven't talked about it on the Social Hour yet, and I thought, we kind of have to, because it's such an interesting social experience, because it's about as social as you can get without that amassing mass amount of followers type thing that we've all gotten very used to as part of the social networking experience. I mean, you and I both have quite a few followers on Twitter. Most of those people we've never met, but that's okay, because that's kind of the fun of it type of a thing. And we both follow people. It goes both ways. It's like they're internet friends. And Path gives you a cap of 150 friends, and they even go out of their way to say it's not just acquaintances. It's people you love, people you really care about, people your real friends, your real network. But you don't have to go up to 150. That's just what your cap is. And we've showed off the app in the past, but it's beautifully designed. What I didn't used to like about Path in the past was that, and I talked about this on iPad today, was that it was mostly focused on taking a photo and then sharing it with whoever, the people you were connected with on Path. And it's like, well, that's fine, but I already had Instagram, and it just, I don't know, something was missing. I thought, if I take a really nice picture, I want to share it with the world because I'm proud of it. In Path, it just felt like
limited,
something was
right?
missing. Yeah. Now Path has photos, locations. You can cross-check into Foursquare, or send your post to Twitter or Facebook. You can tell Path what you're listening to. It doesn't actually use Music ID to pick up anything that's playing on the speakers the way something like sound tracking would do, but it has a database of songs, so you know the name of the song. If you don't know the name of the song, it's not going to help you, but if you know the name of the song, you just type it in, and it'll come up, and then your friends can listen to like a 30-second clip, and so on. It's really, it's a nice service. The design is completely different, and obviously they've just opened it up not only to people having a bigger network. The cap used to be at 50, by the way, which a lot of people said it was just too restrictive.
Pretty low, yeah.
Yeah. So, Amber, have you played around at all with Path, and if so, what do you think?
No, I haven't played around with it. I mean, I'm very familiar with it, so I understand how it works, and I think you're right. I mean, it's beautifully designed, a really interesting concept, but I just feel like there's just, I mean, I don't know. I feel sort of inundated with so many of these services, right? And I think it's one of the more creative services out there, but if you're already using, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like it's, you can spend your whole day literally just updating things nonstop, and people do that, right, Sarah? Like I watch on Twitter where there are people all day, all they do is they're just updating and replying. And for me, it's just too much. I feel like I've maxed out with some of these services, and I like them, but I would have to see, I'd have to have a compelling reason, I think, to start and keep using it. And I haven't found that yet.
Yeah, I think I will say that I like Path because, I don't know, I'm a bit of a design nerd. Not that I have any skills, but I appreciate other people's good design. That's also why I like Oink. I think it's designed really nicely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So Path, to me, it's like, wow, it does a lot of things that are very different than a lot of the other sharing apps that we're familiar with. But it's still, I am not sold on the idea of sharing with a small amount of people by choice. I know that appeals to a lot of folks, obviously, or Path wouldn't be going through the trouble of saying, no, this actually is a really good idea. I just don't know if it's going to generate the mass adoption that app-making companies need these days to just be able to compete. I mean, you need millions of users in order to be a success, and if you're sort of promoting less is more type of a thing, I just don't know if you promote that mass adoption in the same way that other services have been good at.
I think it's one of those things too. I think back, I don't know if Facebook still does this, but they had for quite a long time limited your friend count for friend requests to 5,000, and I do realize that's quite high, and not everybody gets to that point. But it always bugged me because I had reached that point, and I always thought, why are they deciding how many contacts I should have? Right. And I think with Path is like, I like the idea. Oh, it's a smaller, more inclusive network, or sorry, more exclusive network. But when I really think about it, I think if you get to 150 and you want to start adding people, how frustrating is it that you've already reached that number? So I don't know, maybe they're going to have to increase that limit again.
It's also, there's just so much overlap. We mentioned Oink. Oink is, one of the issues I have with Oink is that it's kind of you really have to want to put something on Oink. There are several steps. If you want to upload a picture and then tag it and then tell people where you are and then give it a rating and that sort of thing, it's a great service, but it requires some commitment. Something like Path is awesome, but it's not necessarily going to be seen by people that would care. And then we've got the big networks like Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus that all do a lot of things, but some things they just don't do that well because they're almost too big. They're not focused enough. So I don't think that there's a golden app to be had here, but at the same time, you're right. Like you said, I'm not going to use all of these just to say that I did, because I would have no more time left in the day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, it becomes just too much, right? And it's funny because I thought that when Instagram launched, I thought, I'm not going to use Instagram because, I'm already using another photo sharing app. And I just ended up keeping that one. So, some of them do stick. And I think Instagram served a specific need for an audience out there who love to share pictures and maybe wanted to just add some great filters. But with this, I haven't really figured out what that need might be. But who knows? It is nicely designed, Sarah. You're right.
And it's only a few days old, so we'll let December shake out, and then we'll revisit.
We'll see. All right. So we every once in a while we add a new category to the social hour. This one being our infographic of the week. I stumbled across this, and the name of the article is 5 Big Reasons CEOs Should Get Social. And there is an infographic attached to it about the future social CEO and about engagement. Also within the article, it just talks about some success stories with CEOs who are using social media sites like Richard Branson. Evernote is another one that they mentioned, Kiva, and also how social media helped Kate Spade become a global brand. So I think some inspiring ideas and stories here for C-level executives who are thinking of getting into the social space. Sometimes I think CEOs, they think, okay, we'll just leave it to the marketing team. I don't think I need to get involved. But then you see someone like Tony from Zappos, and you realize how beneficial engaging on social media can be for a company.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think people who are not at C-level executive positions, I love that term, by the way, they look at this and go, oh, gosh, social media for business, just stop. Nobody wants that type of a thing. But it's really important. And for companies to be able to be keeping up in this way, I mean, it's imperative, obviously. But there's so many ways that companies can also get it wrong. And yeah, I mean, Richard Branson in Virgin America, for example, I mean, he's front and center on this Mashable article. Although, it's funny. Richard Branson is a really good example of somebody who's kept really positive buzz for himself and his company. Yeah. Although Virgin America has had some negative buzz lately because their website was down recently, and a lot of my friends were complaining about that. Although all that stuff died down recently, so there was probably some outreach program on Virgin America's part that sort of squashed the complaining.
Well, they do. I mean, they do a really great job, as you know, with social media. I think they're definitely one company to watch. And I actually interviewed Richard Branson, I think, last year, right before I did Net at Night. And I asked him about Twitter and why he used Twitter. And he was like, what do you mean? Why do I use Twitter? I have to be there, right? And my companies are all about communications and service, customer service and everything. So I think we'll see more and more executives think like that. Although I know it's not easy, because they're so busy and sometimes they don't know what to write. I don't want to see every CEO on Twitter. I'm sure you don't either, Sarah. But the ones that have great personalities and they can share some of their knowledge and insights, I think it's, I think we can learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we all attend conference. Well, not all of us, but many of us attend conferences where we hear these people speak because they're, in most cases, brilliant. They're smart. They've built businesses. They have really good insight. They can teach us things, and that's the sort of thing I would want to subscribe to a Twitter feed for.
Yeah. And I think we don't really talk about this a lot with Twitter. We talk about it as being something that people use for branding and for connecting. But I see a lot of people using Twitter really just to be inspired, to read those stories and to follow people who make them want to do a better job or, reach for the stars or whatever it might be. So it's interesting, that side of social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to, this is actually your social tip this week. Something called Slice to keep track of all your daily deals for those of us who have so many daily deals options. They're always too good to pass up.
I know. It's really hard. And it's not just for daily deals. It's also for any other type of online shopping. So if you're shopping on Amazon or any of the other big electronic retailers, what you can do with Slice is you can use it on the web. There's also an iPhone app, and it will allow you to keep track of all of those purchases. So you won't forget what you've been buying. So hopefully you don't overspend. It will allow you to keep track of purchases from, like I mentioned, Amazon and other services, but also daily deals. So you don't forget that you have those deals, which, Sarah, I know we probably both have done many times. and not redeem them in time. You can set it up so you get sent reminders, those type of things. So I think this is really handy as we're going into the holiday shopping season. I mean, people are deep in it right now. If you're doing a lot of online shopping, if you're getting those daily deals, maybe give Slice a try so you keep track of those purchases. So it looks like a cool little service, and I did a little bit of research in terms of what people were saying about it online, and fairly positive.
That's great. You know, this reminds me of an app that we talked about on this show in the past. I think it might have even been a rad or fad. It might have just been a spotlight. And now I can't remember the name of it. Oh,
don't try to remember.
Pockets. City Pockets.
Oh,
that's what it was. Same idea. Same idea. So what I'll do is, because I like this sort of thing, because Amber, I'm like you, this framing deal that I bought, I think it was Living Social, has now expired. And I mean, it was such a good deal.
Framing deals.
I know. And I really should have, I have all sorts of things that I want to frame. I don't know. So yes, City Pockets sounds a lot like Slice, but it'll be kind of a fun project to compare the two and see which site does what better. Or if it's kind of a clone type of a situation. I guess
with City Pockets, though, because it is just daily deals, if you look at the other one, they have up to 1,000 retailers that they work with. So that's pretty, it's pretty deep. So yeah, let us know if anyone out there is using either of them and has given them a try, because I think it's perfect time to sign on and keep track of some of the money you're spending, which is probably a lot.
Yes, you know, my friend, people who watch the TWiT network know Martin Sargent, obviously from the Tech TV days, but also from our now defunct show This Week in Fun. But Martin Sargent, I hope he doesn't get annoyed with me for telling the world this. He's a coupon clipper. I mean, like a straight up old school coupon clipper, but now that he has discovered all of the coupon sites, he knows more about any sort of deal that could be had on the internet and redeemed anywhere than anyone else I know. I mean, he's into it. It's like he should start his own business. That's how much he cares about it.
You know what? So, yeah, I think TWiT, this wouldn't be for me, but I think TWiT needs a shopping show, like an online shopping and deals show. You could do so much, like a retail show.
That's a good idea.
Could do a lot. A friend of mine, he goes by at Retail Profit on Twitter. I think I've mentioned him on the show before, but he studies sort of retail trends, particularly in the digital space. But there is so much that you could talk about in terms of shopping deals and couponing, and maybe you and Martin can reunite and do that show, but just for me as a listener.
It's not the worst idea in the world. You know, Martin he'd love to be part of TWiT again in some capacity. He has a full-time job, and it's almost more than a full-time job. It's kind of a grueling job. So we're always talking about trying to get something going again.
Okay,
yeah, that's a great idea.
You could get advertisers for sure too. I'm sure they would love to be attached. Okay.
Since you're talking about buying things, perhaps you'd like to buy our product. Yeah, I think that'd be a great show for people to advertise on.
I would listen to that show. That sounds like fun. Okay, Sarah, now this is really interesting because I cannot wait to hear about this. I know you've been using the Jawbone UP, and sort of mixed reviews last week when you mentioned it. How is it now?
Well, Amber, I'll tell you, it is bricked. My Jawbone UP died a week after I got it. Now, okay, so anybody who's unfamiliar with Jawbone, several of us have it at TWiT. So you've either heard the story or you're like, why is Sarah wearing it? Why is she wearing that ugly bracelet and talking about it? This is supposed to monitor a few things. Fitness. So you wear it, and it's water resistant. They say it's waterproof, but I mean, I probably wouldn't go swimming with it on. But it's designed to just sort of never be taken off. You take a shower with it, or, wash dishes kind of a thing. So that it's monitoring all your activity during the day. And it's smart enough to know when you are taking steps, or let's say I walk up and down the steps to and from my garage type of a thing. The Jawbone UP will track that because it can tell by the way that it's moving that I'm moving. You can also set it with, there's sort of a button code, sort of short, long type thing, where then I can set myself in activity mode. So if I walk into the gym and it's like, okay, Jawbone, I want you to understand that I'm like running on the treadmill type of a thing, it kind of goes into a different mode. So it's designed to keep track of your calories burned and your exercise, that type of a thing. You also have sleep mode. So you get in bed, you turn off the light, and right before you decide to go to sleep, there's another little way that you ignite night mode, which is sleep mode. And then you can, and by the way, you're like, well, how does it all know? What happens is that there's a little cord here. When you take off this cover, which, by the way, falls off all the time. I've found it in my couch cushions more than once. Then you attach it to your phone. It's an app. Here's the thing, though. Okay, so let's talk about before it even got bricked. What you do is you plug it into your phone. You have to launch the app. Like, it won't even launch anything automatically, which might have been like a weird privacy issue anyway, but okay. And then it'll tell me things like, okay, so here's what I've done today. There actually isn't a lot of information because my phone bricked several hours ago, so it hasn't recorded anything that I've done. But it says I'm at about 6% of my fitness goal for the day because I've only walked 586 steps. Now, that's not like climbing stairs. I mean, 500 steps in a day, not very many at all. So I've basically been immobile, and I should be ashamed of myself. So this is, the concept of it is really cool. So if I go into more of a, come on now. Oh, here we go. More into like a deeper mode of like, so how have I been sleeping lately, for example? This is a sort of a snapshot of how I've been. Like, I went to the gym yesterday, so that was a nice like little 2-mile exercise type of thing. I'm doing this backwards, so I'm not doing it well. And then the night before, I, hey you. Okay, so here, the software kind of blows, obviously. Night before, I slept pretty well. It says you slept 7 hours and 51 minutes. And if I go into a little bit more detail on that, it says my score was 100 because I, for the most part, slept really soundly. Those are the darker blues. And the lighter blues are when I was in more of like a REM sleep. But I slept soundly more often than I was lightly sleeping, which is good. The thing is that I know myself, and I'm not the best sleeper in the world. So I feel like the up is not really, doesn't really understand. Like, I think that the up thinks if I lay very still, I must be in deep sleep. But sometimes I'm just staring at the ceiling, and it wouldn't possibly know that.
I don't know about the sleeping thing. I think I agree with you. You just never really know, right? But
yeah,
couldn't you be sleeping in bed with your iPad, really, and be awake? I guess you would move to swipe.
You would move, yeah. I mean, I think you have to be not moving for a certain amount of time. I mean, there are a lot of things about this that you go, wow, that's cool, though. There's some intelligence going on. I like the concept of this. My problem is that there's too much that I have to do already. First of all, this thing is designed to be waterproof or at least water resistant, and I'm not supposed to take it off. Why do I have to plug it in? Because when I plug it into my iPhone, I'm always having to take it off. And, why is it not wirelessly transmitting? First of all. Second of all, why do they have this stupid thing that falls off all the time? Leo lost his within a couple of days. And third, why is it bricked? Because that's what happened to me today. It's broken. I don't know. It doesn't work anymore. And I got very disappointed and annoyed. It was a gift. I got it a week ago. Honestly, it was an anniversary gift. And I said something about it on Twitter, and I got a flood of comments, people saying exact same thing happened to me. And then, so I feel like I need to tell the world about my experience.
First generation product.
Very much so, yeah. But it's $100, and I feel like because a lot of people have been somewhat frustrated with the experience thus far. But if you're not one of those people and you're considering this, maybe, holiday gift type of a thing, I think it may not be ready for prime time. Because if I just had a lemon of a Jawbone UP, I might say, well, I'll just get a replacement, and it was just bad luck. Too many people have the same
because they make
experience.
Such beautiful products. Jawbone. I mean, they have done some really, really slick products. I love their little jam box, a really great quality speaker that I use all the time, and of course all their headsets and everything. So that's unfortunate. I have heard some of the same type of feedback. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't really have a lot of incentive to want one. I think in the sense that I feel like I know how I'm doing as far as health-wise. Like today, like you, I haven't done very much. So it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know if sometimes I don't think technology is going to help. I think it's just, more of my own personal motivation.
Yeah, I like it. It's sort of like, for me to wear this all the time, I mean, it's not like it's ugly. I mean, I'm fine wearing this. I don't care. But I think for a lot of people, it would take a lot of getting used to. Plus the fact that you do need to program a fair amount. I mean, you need to tell it when you're going to be doing vigorous activity or when you're sleeping. Jawbone software also allows this whole area for recording what your meals are, but doesn't really count those calories. And I'm not even really sure where they're going with that, except for people just to sort of be aware of what they eat, what they've eaten over the last week. There's a social element, too, though. You and I, Amber, if you had an Up, we could become part of a team on Up. So we could band together to make sure that we, ate a bunch of vegetables. That was something that I talked about on a previous show. Eat 10 tomatoes in a week, and if we do that, then we feel good about ourselves. Or make sure that we both...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, run 10 miles in a week, and you can see my stats, and I can see yours. So there's a little bit of cheering each other on, which is also cool. I mean, I don't want to say the Jawbone Up is a terrible idea, because I actually think it's a great idea. I just feel like the execution of it makes me...
It just needs more work.
It just needs more work. Yeah. Somebody in chat said, sounds like it was rushed out for Christmas. I think you might be right.
Yeah. Hopefully it will get better.
Absolutely. I wanted to just mention, before you laugh and call me a crazy cat lady, this is really a great
Sorry,
site.
I laughed.
It's just, I know people say, "Oh, Sarah, enough," but this is. I don't really know what to make of this guy and his cat. The website is thetravelingkitty.com. This is a guy named, what is his name? His name is Ted, and he has a cat named Pikachu that he adopted from an animal shelter. Okay, well, that's not such a compelling story on its own, except that they are cross-country bicycling, the two of them, not even in a car or a van or a Winnebago or anything like that, bicycling with a little, sort of like a little bicycle add-on that Pikachu the cat stays in.
Wait, go back there. Is the cat eating Nutella, or am I just dreaming that?
No,
is that Nutella?
That's right, yeah. I think he's just eating the jar of Nutella. I don't know that he definitely likes the taste of Nutella. I certainly don't, so he can have mine. But, so this is, the two of them are traveling across the country, and you say, well, why are they doing that? And his whole goal is to raise awareness for shelter animals. The fact that he's got this amazing cat who is, by most accounts, I mean, he's got all these great videos and photos and stories of where they've been and who they've met, and they're visiting local shelters when they go to, Amarillo, Texas, for example. Amarillo, I guess you would say if you were in Texas. And the cat is like a very, very special cat to want to hang out on the road all of the time through storms and going and visiting animals in other shelters. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I've never heard of anything like it. And I think it's great. And he is accepting donations on his site if you want to help him. So you not only support just his travel, because they're doing it all by donation. And it's kind of like if he doesn't have enough money to sleep in a hotel room, then they camp out on the side of the road for a night type of a thing. But also to give money towards shelters nationwide. And as somebody who has shelter animals, I think it's just a great service, and I can't believe he found a cat that would want to do that with him, because my cats don't even like going to the vet. So,
Sarah, I'm sorry to laugh because I have to say, first of all, it's a great idea in terms of raising money, and it's awesome. I hope people do actually donate. But I just had this visual of you last night when you weren't allowed to sleep, sitting there reading this blog and then falling in love with this man.
It's true. That's what I was doing. How'd you know? It just seemed like a 3 a.m. discovery to you, because that's exactly what it was.
It's a 3 a.m. discovery. You're like,
where I was like,
there's some
oh my gosh, this man. Well, I thought not only do I want to donate a little bit of money, because, he needs it more than, I don't know, what I would spend on a latte anyway, but I want to meet him. I think he's actually, he has shown his route across the U.S., and I think he's already come through the Bay Area. But it's like, I love these guys. Yeah,
that's great.
It's great. So Ted, thanks for the blog, and again, that's thetravelingkitty.com. If you're the kind of person who's interested in these sorts of things and you want to fall in love with Ted at 3 a.m. All right, before we get on to some of our other exciting viewer feedback, and it's very exciting this week, let's thank Ford. They're our second sponsor of this episode of The Social Hour. Leo talks about Ford and how technologically advanced they are over all the other car manufacturers all the time. And he should know because he actually uses Ford Sync because he has a Ford. But even if you don't have a Ford, you should become familiar with all of the things that Sync can do because it's really the next generation of the kind of technology that will be seen in all cars. Ford just happens to be first. Sync gives you access to music, podcasts. Hey, everybody watching the show knows the value of podcasts. Pretty much on any device. You can check it out in the 2012 Ford Focus, and you can learn more about it at ford.com/technology. But if you're like, well, what kind of entertainment features? You can access your iPod, for example, or your mobile phone, tablet, you can use a flash drive to play any of your content. You can play videos or display photos from your digital cameras or portable gaming device. When, of course, you're not driving. Your vehicle would have to be in park, of course. But, maybe you're wanting to kill some time while your significant other is in Target and you don't want to go in, you want to watch something. Sync makes that available to you. Wired connections for just about any device. So you've got the USB ports, you've got SD slots, RCA jacks, or you can go wireless through Bluetooth. Just kind of connect your devices and go on. Also, voice activation features help you play what you want. So you're driving down the road. You certainly don't want to look down at anything or be pressing buttons. You can just say, play genre rock, or play Rod Stewart station on Pandora, so on and so forth. I mean, it's really advanced stuff, and it's exciting. It's exciting to know that this is where car technology is headed, but that Ford is already doing it. So it's a real deal. This is not conceptual stuff. This is actual Ford technology. And Amber, I know that you've test-driven Ford cars as well and had a lot of fun with Ford Sync.
Yeah, it's super easy to use, and it's just fun. There's so much to learn and so much you can do with it that it's like for anyone who loves technology, it's just phenomenal to be able to do some of the things that you can do.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a perfectly fine car, but it doesn't even have an iPod jack. I mean, that's something that I had to add aftermarket, which is, hey, okay, I love my car, but it has none of this. None. I would kill for this stuff that I didn't have to jerry rig myself. Again, Ford.com/technology to learn all sorts of stuff that Ford's working on. They're working on new apps all the time with devs. Through their API, so it's going to be really exciting to see what they come up with in the next year. And in fact, we probably might learn about some of the stuff at CES, because this is where we learned about the electric Focus, for example, was almost a year ago now. So Ford, just keep it coming, and we will stay happy. All right, let's move on to some email. Amber, do you want to read this one?
All right. Yeah, I'll do this one. If you listened to the show last week, which was an awesome show, of course, we had some guys write in from New Zealand who were doing, I believe they were doing some type of car adventure where everybody was going to be in different cars. They wanted a way to be able to update their Twitter account by texting in, because they were going to be in very remote areas. So we have a couple of suggestions that people sent in about how to do this. The first one is from Sean. He says that Google Voice is the right way to do it. Sign up for one account, put all the cell phones on the account, associate the Google Voice number with the Twitter account, and tell it to send DMs via SMS. Send one DM to the Twitter account. All phones should receive an SMS from different numbers than the Twitter number. If they SMS that number, it will get forwarded to Twitter as if it came from the Google Voice number. I have used this before, and it seems as though hopefully that would work. So there's one solution. And I know it's a lot to be able to digest this, but it sounds like that's one possibility. Another one, Paul in San Antonio called in with a similar setup. He uses tweet email, which isn't for SMS, but says is a good solution if you only want to use email for something like this. So a couple of different options for our friends in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks so much for everybody who helped out trying to figure out, well, how do we get these fine folks who just want to SMS to one Twitter account to get her done. So it sounds like Google Voice is probably the SMS solution. But I thought we'd throw in that tweet email option, just in case you say, well, SMS isn't really anything that I'm interested in. But I am interested in primarily using Twitter via email because, hey, you do whatever you want. So tweet email might be a good solution for you. Amber, before we get to our next email, there is actually some breaking news, and the chat room apparently has been trying to get us to notice for a few minutes. Facebook has bought Gowalla.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. So I'm looking at an article here on CNN Money. What we know so far, Facebook has acquired location sharing service Gowalla for an undisclosed sum. according to a source close to Gowalla. Okay, so nobody's made an official announcement yet. This is just the word on the street. Sounds like most of Gowalla's employees, including founder Josh Williams, will move to Facebook's offices in Palo Alto. Now, that surprises me a little bit because I know that Gowalla is based in Austin. At least it was. If they've moved out of Austin, that's news to me. Launched in 2009, Austin-based Gowalla went head-to-head with direct rival Foursquare and lost. I would agree with that. And Goala actually just recently changed their focus quite a bit to become more of almost like a trip destination, where I would, let's say I was going to Paris. I might use Gowalla to check into a bunch of places, but it would kind of give me almost a fun game, like, check in here, this is a really cool spot, and here's more about this, the Louvre Museum that you're standing at type of a thing. It's funny because Leo and I were talking about Path yesterday on iPad Today, and we were reading a article from the Next Web that was saying, Facebook should buy Path because Path is doing basically Facebook Mobile in a way that Facebook Mobile hasn't been able to figure out. Well, that's obviously not happening, but they bought Gowalla, which is a great service. I just, it seems like they were just overshadowed by Foursquare from the get-go and never could really get back out in front again. Wow.
That is amazing. And it's trending on Twitter right now, of course. Big news.
Big news, indeed.
Well, thank you, chat room, for keeping us on the straight and narrow. We were going off there on a bit of a tangent, not knowing about Gowalla.
Right. Well, that's what they keep us honest. That's why tuning in live is great. Not only because you can see us do the show in real time, but you can help us not miss things. Of course, this show may not come out until the regular time on Monday, so by then you'll say, I read about this news all weekend. But for the live viewers, you heard it here as soon as we did, or before we did, actually. Got another email from Dell in Inverness, Scotland. He's at SlobJunkie on Twitter. Hi, Sarah and Amber. Great show as always. I'm wondering if you can help me out because I'm a bit of a social junkie, which, okay. I've been looking for a social aggregator, so I read and post new messages to all my different social networks. I've used TweetDeck in the past for Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn updates, but now I've become a huge fan of Google+. So my question is there an Android app, desktop, or Chrome app which would let me post to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+, all at the same time? Thanks for any help. P.S. Twit rules. Okay, so Amber, you might have a more helpful suggestion than I do because my suggestion is don't do this. It's too, I don't think blasting out to 5 places is the right thing to do anymore. If it ever was, I don't think that people appreciate it anymore because it makes it seem like you're not really there. That's my knee-jerk reaction. Amber, what do you think?
So I am more in the middle on this one. And I know Scott Stratton, who we've had on the show, he goes by at Unmarketing, is dead against anyone posting like this, cross-posting to multiple social networks. I think there's a time and a place for it. I don't think you should do it all the time, but let's say you have a kind of a generic post or something that, you're going to say the same thing, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, then it can be useful to simply be able to send those messages to a few destinations. I wouldn't rely on it 100%, but let's say if, 10% of your posts are like that, makes your life easier. You run a company and you want to be able to do that. I don't think it's the end of the world. I was just looking into seeing where this was possible to be able to post to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Hootsuite, it seems, is probably one of the best options. The only thing is Hootsuite just announced on November 25th that they've added Google Plus integration for enterprise customers. They do say it is available for anyone, but you need to request it as a feature within Hootsuite when you sign up for a free account. So try to go the Hootsuite angle, and hopefully that will work for you. And then I would say, like Sarah said, just a word of caution, don't rely on it 100% of the time, because you'll make people in all those communities very angry when you start talking about something using @ symbols and hashtags and everything in a world where those are meaningless.
Or just something where it's verbatim and you can tell that it was just, whether it was using a service that would help you post to a bunch of places at the same time, or even just copying and pasting. I can always sniff that stuff out easily. Although, I will say, and yeah, I follow Scott on Twitter, so I certainly know his position on all of this. And I think he makes really good points, too. Although I don't always necessarily agree, because he's just very much on one side of the whole authenticity argument. But I have also noticed that some of my peers, let's say social media junkies, have gotten wise to this because they know that sometimes people can think of them as being spammy or not trying hard enough if you're just posting the same message to a bunch of social networks. So they'll rephrase it slightly. So it technically is the exact same message. You're like, let's say I wrote an article and I tweeted out, and then on Facebook, maybe it's more of a paragraph. And then on Google Plus, maybe it's like the embedded link to my blog, that sort of thing. It's like sometimes that can rub me a little bit the wrong way, too. I guess it depends on the person, because I think, I know what you're doing. And I already saw this once, but I guess if you've got something that you're proud of and you want people to see it as much as possible, you kind of have to cover your bases and risk being slightly annoying to a few people, but then having more people overall get your message.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's almost like you want to have Guy Kawasaki and Scott Stratton on the social hour to duke this out, because, you have Guy Kawasaki who's like, I don't care if I lose 3 followers because I just gained 20 new followers who never knew I was doing this stuff before and saw that post, right? So he doesn't care about cross-posting or repeating his posts. And they have Scott Stratton who's on the total other side of this. I just think it's good to kind of fall in the middle. And it's good to customize your post per networks. But you know what? It really depends on what you're doing. I think, if you're an individual and you're doing this and you just follow your friends and family on these different social networks. I mean, I just think there's so many different circumstances and we have to take those into mind before we kind of recommend. It's always a touchy subject.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. All right, before we get to Amber's, I almost called you Ramber, and that wouldn't be right at all.
Gosh, someone used to call me Ramber, and
really?
I don't even know who it was. Yeah, I just had a flashback to like my junior high school years.
Ramber?
It was like Rambo. I think when Rambo was popular or something, it was just funny.
Ramber.
Because clearly I'm a fighter, Sarah. Just remember that.
Yes, First Blood, obviously. You're like Rambo. I get the two of you mixed up. Well, I was doing Rad and Amber, and it became Ramber. So that can be kind of like your Rad alter ego.
We haven't met. I could be like 6 feet tall, Sarah, and like totally.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't even know if I've ever seen a full-length picture of you standing next to somebody else. Maybe you are Rambo. Yeah. How well can you wield a machine gun? Really well? Yeah.
I'm from Canada. It doesn't fly here.
Good point. Let's quickly thank Netflix. They're our third sponsor in the show. We've got a lot of stuff in the show, although we're doing pretty well. But before we get to Netflix, really quickly, just want to remind you, the social hour at twit.tv is how you get a hold of us via email. You can always leave us a voicemail, 2626-SOCIAL. It's a Google Voice number, so you just type it out, 2626-SOCIAL. Just a plea to try to keep it to 30 seconds or less, because we get voicemails, but a lot of times they're really long, so then I end up sort of turning them into emails so that we can get through them easier. So please call us. Please do, but try to keep it quick and concise. Or you can always record a video if you're not feeling shy. Maybe you got some cool sunglasses you want to be wearing during the video. Please don't be driving. Definitely be parked and be able to prove it. And just send us the link to the video because we'd love to play them. Netflix. Amber, I am addicted to Friday Night Lights. I know I'm several years too late, but it's on Netflix streaming, and I love it.
That's awesome. It's okay. You're like me. That's the best thing about Netflix. We actually just got Netflix not that long ago. Is that all of these shows that people talked about a few years ago? I mean, you still can go back and get all of them, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's really fun because I'm one of those people who, when I'm not watching a series that people love, I don't know what I'm missing, so I kind of go out of my way not to listen. Game of Thrones is one of these shows for me that people love. And I can't get it on HBO because I don't have HBO. HBO shows come to iTunes like several years later, so it's like I'm not getting it anytime soon, and I'm not going to go over to someone else's house on Sunday. So I don't even really know what it's about. Friday Night Lights was a little bit of the same thing. It's like some sort of high school football drama. Meh. Whatever, maybe someday. Well, the day has come. They have like 4 or 5 seasons, so it's MG and I now say, okay, well, we have this fun hobby that we have for a while. Whenever we have a spare 45 minutes or so, no commercials, we'll just stream the next episode of Friday Night Lights, and I love it. So obviously I'm getting into why Netflix is so great. It's very much that impulse. We feel like doing something right now. What do we have at our disposal? TV series, especially ones that have a variety of episodes that you can catch up on in bulk when it's rainy, you don't want to do anything for a few hours. Streaming is so great for that sort of thing because you don't have to worry about DVDs. Obviously, Netflix has that as well, but the instant streaming option has really made my life better. Not only can you watch a variety of TV shows, and of course movies. Netflix was originally known for their variety of movies on your computer at home or through your Apple TV or your Roku box, but on the road, take it on your iPad. Stream a Netflix movie on your iPhone, on your Android device, through your Xbox or your PS3. The list goes on. Netflix, you pretty much watch Netflix content any way you want to. You probably find some way that you couldn't, but then you would just be trying too hard. And special offer from us, if you haven't signed up for Netflix, or you know somebody who hasn't, who could maybe be swayed, special offer, netflix.com/twit, free content for 30 days. If you wanted to, you could get through the entire series of Friday Night Lights if you haven't already watched it within that 30 days. It would be a bit of a commitment, but you could do it, and then you could say, gee, thanks, Twit. I just saw a series absolutely for free. And then at the end of the 30 days, if you like the service, you probably will, then you sign up, pay the monthly fee to get a lot of content. Again, that's netflix.com/twit, and they're great. We thank them so much for sponsoring not only the Social Hour, but all of the shows on the TWiT network. All right.
All right, Sarah.
This one, I'm scared. I'm scared about our Ratified
All right.
today.
This is a good one. People should be sitting down, or if you're a man, maybe standing up. This is an article I stumbled across on the BBC. It's called Toilet Gaming Technology Targets Urinal Boredom. Now, at first, when I saw this article, I thought, oh, okay, they're putting TVs in front of the urinals or advertisements. We've seen this before, right? Not really a new thing. And then I read a little bit further and realized what it is it's an interactive game that they've installed at least at one bar in the UK. And this game allows men who are going to the bathroom and doing a number one to take aim at the urinal and play a game at the same time. So you can basically see how good you are when you're aiming. And I'm trying not to laugh with this. And you will also be part of a leaderboard to see how well you will do. And at first I was like, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe they're doing this. But then I got towards the bottom of the article and there was one line and I read it and I thought, this is really interesting. And it talked about how this particular bar, they noticed that the urinals and the bathrooms were much cleaner because of the game. And I thought, oh, wait a second. Now I am a huge fan of this. This is totally rad, Sarah.
It's always sort of, I just don't, I can't claim to know the anatomy of the other kind or what really goes on in the public restrooms, but I have heard that sometimes it's not good. So anything technology or otherwise that helps people, meet a specific goal, keep things tidy, I am into. I think this is rad all around. And there's a game involved. And hey, if you're going to be in a bathroom, why not have a little fun?
Yeah,
and
keep it clean.
I mean that in the context of this toilet gaming technology.
And then you realize, as much as we laugh, we think, oh, this is kind of silly. Then you read a stat like this, where within the article, they say that the average man spends about 9 months over the course of their lifetime going to the bathroom, doing the number one. So that's a lot of time. It's a lot of time, Sarah.
It's true.
So technology at the urinal, you can game at the urinal. So it's a man's dream come true, and maybe a woman's too because of the cleanliness. I don't know. Sarah's like, you're speechless, Sarah. I've never made you speechless.
It's not every day that we can talk about toilet gaming technology.
No.
And keeping things interesting in public restrooms.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool though. I think
you know how there's always in the movies there's the joke, where one guy, is looking too much at the next guy, and you're supposed to sort of be staring straight ahead. It's like, I wonder if you look at your own monitor and then you're like, "Ooh, your game is cool. Well, how's it going?"
And then
there's going to be this whole thing like, "Stay on your own game."
You know what I say? Finally, there will be a lineup to the men's bathroom, and the men will have to endure what women have had to face for years, which is lining up and waiting. That would be a good thing because of the gaming.
Just
revenge, finally.
Gaming revenge. That's what it's all about. Thank you, social media company.
The weirdest rad we've ever had, but
it's
nonetheless,
rad.
It is, it's innovation, technology innovation.
Absolutely. Coming to a baseball stadium near you. That's actually one of the places where the women's lines are freakishly long. It makes me crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing in there? Just let's do this.
Well, they say that they're going to do something like this, although it's not going to be the same type of game, but they say they're going to have something near the hand dryers, possibly in the women's restroom, some type of technology where if you're waiting, you can also play a game. But I'm just not so into touching things when you're in the restroom, so I don't know how that one's going to fly. This could be a men's only thing.
Yeah, good call. Good call. Everybody wash your hands. Just enjoy all the stuff, but keep those hands washed. And with that, Amber, we've come to the end of our social hour.
Wow, I know. It's that was a different ending than usual. Yes, sir. Lots of links to cover, and you are off to Paris, and hopefully we'll be getting good reports across Google Plus and Twitter and all those other sites from you.
Absolutely, I'm going to do my best. I've kind of been lagging a little bit on the sherry. I feel like I've been consuming a lot more than I've been kind of offering up my own contributions to social media, and I'm not really sure what's going on. I think maybe I'm in kind of that holiday slump, and I'm about to go to the web with some of the members of TWiT. Leo and I will be broadcasting live Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, which is why Amber and I are recording the social hour a few days early, because I will be out on Monday. Although the following Monday, which is Monday let me sure I get this right, the 12th, we will have a social hour at the regular time. I will just be in Barcelona. So Amber and I will both be Skyping in, but I didn't want to miss the show. So, and then the following week, I think, Amber, you're out. So we might we'll figure out a guest host. So the rest of December is going to be a little unusual, but it's to be expected. But Amber, thanks so much for pretty much spending your Friday night with us here.
Oh, Sarah, sorry. Just before we go, I should say, then can we make the next episode sorry, I really love the holidays. Can you tell?
Yes.
Can we make the next episode the holiday show, and I'll do a bunch of the prep since you're going to be away?
Absolutely.
Does that sound cool?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that idea. Well, it'll be fun, too, because I'll be able to weigh in on the European experience. I already know that Paris is it's a very Christmassy city. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but they really decorate. They are into it. And I've never been to Barcelona, but I have to assume, Catholic country and all, that they're probably pretty into the holidays as well. Yes. So yes, I will bring some European flair to that episode of the Social Hour.
Okay. Can't wait.
All right. Well, thanks, Amber, and good show as always. Thanks to everybody who is watching us, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening.